All right, everybody, this is a video on construction basics. So I would recommend before you even start lesson 3.1 that you look at this video and even just do some practicing with your compass. And I'm going to show you some different techniques that I think will be beneficial as you're working through this. And just be kind to yourself. This is a brand new skill, a skill that you haven't ever done before. And then also just remember that the more you practice, the better you will get. The purpose of construction is to further the investigations in this course. So you won't ever have a test or an assessment on construction, but you really can't get anywhere else without doing and knowing and understanding what we're doing here. I will guide you through this when we're in person as well, and I will continue to help you practice. There's also patty paper constructions, which will kind of come into play from time to time. But this particular video is actually using your compass, and you will also need a straight edge. So I'm just going to go through again some basics. So the compass, there is this circle here that has two slots. One of them puts a pencil and one of them puts the stylus. And to tighten or loosen the compass, there is this nut in the middle, or screw, whatever, that loosens and tightens it. When you go to set it up, I like to put my stylus on the left and my pencil on the right, and I like to keep my pencil nice and sharp as I go. It just gives me a very accurate construction. The other thing is the stylus has like a flat part and a sort of rounded part. And so when your compass is like being stored or locked, you want to make sure that both your pencil and your stylus are kind of up inside so they don't poke through. It is very sharp. But when you go to set it up, this flat part here that there's an arrow on the end must fit on the flat side. So the flat has to go on the flat, and that makes it sit nice and snug, and again gives you the most accurate piece. So if it's like kind of turned like this, it might be hard to see in the video. You're not going to get a really nice construction. The pencil is curved no matter what. So again, when you're setting it up, you want to loosen this piece, the dial here. And then depending on how you do it, I like to keep my pencil and my stylus almost at the same like depth coming out of the compass. I don't like to have my pencil a lot longer or a lot shorter. I think, again, it throws off my measurements. But you can figure out and play with it and figure out what's right for you. So once you get things the way you want them, then you go ahead and tighten it down. And I like to make mine nice and tight because you really don't want it moving around, the pencil and the stylus moving. You want to keep their distance the same. That's really the key to constructing. Keeping the distance between these two objects, because that's what a compass does. It copies distances. And typically we've seen it used for constructing circles, but that's because a circle is a collection of points equidistant from a center point. Let's do some, I'm just gonna grab a second pencil. Let's do some basics. So again, you're gonna need a straight edge and you're gonna need your compass. And I also have an additional pencil. I don't usually use my compass pencil unless I'm actually using the compass. So let's just practice moving the compass first. Again, what happens here is, let's say I want to construct a circle. So go ahead and put a point and then set up your compass. Some people like to rotate their compass around, and you kind of want a nice light touch here. Some people like to move their paper. So I'm going to unclip my paper and show you what that looks like. So again, let's pretend that's my center point. Instead of moving my compass, I want you to notice, oops, I broke my pencil point. I'm going to rotate my paper. And I can do that, make sure I get that on the screen. I can do that a couple different ways. And sometimes again, sorry, that might be hard to see. Sometimes I have to rotate more than once. This is not really my method. As you can see, this is not an accurate construction. Again, another thing you want to consider when you're doing a construction is if you like rotating clockwise or if you like rotating counterclockwise. That might also play into whether you're a righty or a lefty. I want my pencil down a little bit more. There we go. So I would experiment with that. So to do some experimenting with your compass, I'm going to give you a little suggestion to try. This is something I usually start with my geometry class when I teach them in school. And so what I want you to do is take your straight edge and let's make a line, a vertical line. And I would love a perpendicular. So I'm going to actually use this to help me get a perpendicular. You can use your compass to get your protractor to get a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to make a left and right, and then I'm just going to extend this right on this side so I can kind of be assured they're perpendicular. Oh, I wanted to move that down a little bit more. So this is a fun little construction called an astrid. What I want you to do is think of this as the coordinate plane, right? Quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. X-axis, Y-axis. And we're going to take our compass, I'm working on my video setup here for these constructions. Take your compass and push your pencil and your stylus pretty close together. Right now, if I take my centimeter, they're about maybe a ½ centimeter apart. You want them pretty close. And what we're going to do is we're going to start at the origin, and let's do, I call them like swoopies. They're really called arc strikes. Let's do 6 arc strikes from the origin to the right. And every time you make a new arc strike, I want you to pick up your compass, place it at the intersection of the x-axis and the arc strike you just made, and make a new arc strike. You don't have to make these huge, but they should be big enough that you can see the intersection point. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6. So we'll just do 6. I'm going to pause the video, and then we're going to do the same thing going up the y-axis to the left and then down. But rather than you watching me copy all this, I'm going to just pause and then show you the next stage once I get this done. There we go. And you can see this is what it's going to look like. Again, remember, you can move the paper, you can move your compass. I want you to experiment. You don't always have to keep your paper oriented this way. You can rotate your paper as you're working on this. So the next stage in constructing this astrid is to think about the furthest most point on, let's say, the positive y-axis, and I want you to connect that segment to the closest most point that you made on the x-axis in the positive quadrant. So we're going to make a little segment there, and we're going to keep doing that. So then I'm going to go down to the next farthest intersection point, and then I'm going to connect it to the next farthest intersection point, so that, or like the next closest. I'm just going to keep doing that. Again, the more of these arc strikes you create, the more intricate and fun your design will look. The closer they are together, the more intricate and fun your design will look. So as you can see, it kind of takes upon this curved quality, even though we've made this out of all straight segments. I'm going to do that again in this second quadrant, and then I will pause the video and show you the end result after I've done it on all 4 quadrants. So go back to the furthest most point here, connect it to the closest intersection point, and continue that pattern. Oh, for some reason, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like I skipped something, everybody. That's bizarre. I don't know how that happened. Well, I will retroactively work on that. Again, not as nice as I wanted it to be because somehow I misconnected something. But I love that I'm modeling mistakes in real time and just, again, remembering that we all get better at this the more we go. All right, I'm going to pause and show you what this looks like when I've done all of them. There we go. This is the Astrid. If you enjoyed this, there are many different variations on this type of construction. You can kind of Google it and they will show you a bunch of different ways that you can approach this. I want to go through one more introductory construction that's kind of neat because it works more with full circles. So let me show you that second one. This one is called the daisy. Perhaps I should have written that at the top of these pages. So for the daisy, what I want you to do is pick a center point, open up your compass, let's say maybe 4-ish centimeters. We don't want it to be too large because remember, this is going to be a radius. And if it's too large, then we get a diameter that's twice that. And I want you to pick a center point and I just want you to go ahead and construct a circle. So this isn't just, again, a nice getting you to move the compass in a 360-degree direction. Once you have your circle, do not change the distance between your stylus and your pencil, and just pick any point on the circle. It doesn't matter. And I want you to set your compass on that point. What's going to happen is I want you to start outside the circle, swoop in, and then hit another point on the circle. So you just get an arc. You don't have to make another full circle, but you want an arc that starts outside the circle, swings through the center, which it should do, right? Because this was my radius. So when I put my stylus here, it touched this point, and now I'm putting my stylus on the circle, it should touch the center point. Then I want you to go to one of these two intersection points that you just created. And again, do another arc strike, and it should hit that point as well as the center point. And then I just encourage you to go around in the circle in a clockwise or counterclockwise direction because then you won't miss anything. So keep going through those intersection points that you've created. Again, going clockwise or counterclockwise with your arc strikes is your discretion. And once you have completed going around the circle, you should get a daisy. You can, again, layer this in a bunch of different ways. I want you to think about, why do we have 6 of these going around the circle? There is a reason why that is true, and we will talk about that later. This idea also can be used to construct a hexagon, if you're curious about that. I'm not going to reconstruct a circle, but you can just mark these intersection points. I'm just going to go and connect them and show you that when you connect these points, you get a regular hexagon. And that is an interesting and unique, but there's a reason for that as well. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this intro to construction. We will use patty paper as well. It's a little bit easier to use patty paper, so that's why I wanted to take a couple minutes and just introduce you to using your compass and your straight edge and getting used to that. Great job.